Oh, well, hello. I feel like I've not put up a podcast episode in maybe like 2, 3 weeks at this point. Guys, life, man. I mean, not just that. There was also like obviously other things on the channel that kind of needed to take precedence. But we are back. Part of me kind of does want to get back into doing weekly episodes, but I don't know if that's just me putting too much work on my plate. But I don't know, like, now that I've not got, my Taylor Swift outfit to think about, or like Josh's Taylor Swift outfit to think about, I'm just like, oh, like, what to do with my spare time, you know? Maybe sleep and relax. Maybe that's what it is. But hello. Welcome into another podcast episode. Thank you for being here. As you've seen in the title, this is going to be the debrief from my experience at the Eras tour. Okay, first and foremost, I had an amazing time. Right, I will say, after the fact, like it was difficult for me, especially in the vlog, to like obviously put across like my thoughts as it was happening because it was a very long day. Obviously, we'll get into it. It was a very long day. By the time I got home, I was fucking knackered. And then the day prior, the day afterwards, like it wasn't like I'd like not got anything to do. Like we were out and about, we were doing things. So like I didn't really have a moment to just like sit down, take in the experience. Because I feel like it was one of those things where it was like an experience that I really had to like sit, think about, and like properly dissect what I'd just watched and like really collect my thoughts on something before I spoke about stuff prematurely. So I thought I'd just like, we'd do this today. We'll properly talk about it. You guys have asked me a bunch of fucking questions, which thank you so much. I do love when you guys really have an input in the episodes because sometimes like, especially when I first started this one, obviously, I do think the episodes there were more for me, to be honest. Obviously, like a lot of you guys still enjoyed them and like it was more of like a conversation about more deeper topics, and I think I kind of got that out my system. And don't get me wrong, like I obviously would still love to do like some deeper stuff, but part of me does feel the podcast kind of evolving a little bit. And I kind of want this to be, because obviously it's sometimes a bit difficult because it's just me sat here alone in a room talking to myself, right? Obviously until these episodes go live. Sometimes it is difficult to like create a conversation out of nothing, you know? So I do love doing like these fun things like where we speak about a certain piece of media, whether that be movie, whatever, like music, whatever, because it gives me something to really delve into with a purpose. Like kind of like I did, like I said at the very beginning, when it was like I'd go into more like deep topics or like I'd talk a bit more seriously and a bit more candid about like my life, my struggles, whatever, you know? Like I said, I kind of got that out of my system. So I'm just like, well, where do I go next? What do I want to do next? Like, what am I most passionate about? And I think the stuff that I enjoy the most and the episodes that I enjoy the most is when we talk about music and still media, because at the end of the day, like I am a consumer at my heart, at my core. I'm nothing if not a consumer. That is my tagline at this point. So I do see a lot more of these kind of episodes coming where like we talk about a specific piece of media and I just kind of like give you my thoughts whether people want to hear it or not. So hopefully you guys are into that. Obviously, like there'll be things sprinkled here and there, like am I the assholes and like dilemmas and stuff. That's always going to happen because they're always fun for me to do because it still has like a purpose. But I've kind of just run out of deep topics that I want to talk about. And I also think sometimes like in that part of my life, I think it was important for me to talk about things like that because I wasn't doing the best. But now that I feel like I'm doing much better, I'm just like, why? Like, I don't need to make everything so deep all the time. Like, this can just be a fun podcast because not everyone's going to want to tune in on a morning and get berated with a bunch of feelings, thoughts, emotions. It's just not the tea. So, all that to say, we're here to debrief on the Eras tour. If you didn't see the vlog or you didn't do the making, if you didn't see the making of, I guess this is the end of the trilogy, to be honest. Obviously, the first part was me making the outfit. Second part was obviously the vlog. And this is just kind of like our little bookend to this whole little thing. I think I want to start by just kind of walking you through our day because I do think like if you, especially if you're not much of a concert goer, then obviously you might not know kind of like what a day entails when you're going to like a fucking huge event like the Eras Tour. So I do want to go through our day, and then I've got a bunch of questions. Like I said, you guys have really come through. I've got a bunch of questions that I want to go into, and it'll also help me kind of like collect what you guys actually want to know rather than just me spouting off shit, you know? So, obviously, I went to the Eras Tour on my birthday, so already I was feeling great, right? I woke up, we had a nice chilled morning. I think we walked around Brick Lane. We had like we just like went to a few vinyl shops because I mean, hello, this is what I enjoy. So we went to a few vinyl shops. We got a coffee. Like we didn't do too much. Like it was a very relaxing morning. It was lovely weather. Like we really did well with the date. Like I'm glad that I went with my birthday because that weekend was like all in all great weather, just great vibes. Obviously, this was actually the first time Josh was kind of experiencing me film, vlog, people coming up to me sometimes, like that kind of thing. Because basically, like Josh is a new friend of mine. He's not my boyfriend. A lot of people have been saying that they think he's my boyfriend. You guys would know if I had a boyfriend and he would not be appearing on the channel. So there's that. But I will say, quick backstory into me and Josh, I suppose, because a few people did ask. We did start off by like speaking on more of a romantic level, and we did go on one or two dates, but we both kind of decided that we got along super, super well, but there wasn't really like that romantic spark there. So instead, we rather than like allow it to go into like a weird place, if like we tried for that kind of romantic thing when neither of us were really feeling it. Instead, we kind of nipped that in the bud, and we've just been really, really good friends, and like we speak every day. Like, and I've spoken to you guys candidly about the fact that I don't have many friends. So when I find someone that I really, really get along with, I don't really like. I'm not someone who will like go on a date with someone and be like, "Should we remain friends?" Like that's not me. Usually, I'm like, if we go on a date, I don't get along with you. You're not my tea. We're not friends. It was what it was. I've had that happen many a time. I've been in trouble because I've spoken about that on the podcast before, so I'm not going to get into those things. But all in all that to say, we went on a few dates. It didn't work in a romantic sense, but we got along so fucking well. Like we had so much in common, and like chatting to him was really fun in general. Like it didn't need to be something more than that. So we've basically become very good friends, and he's now a really good friend of mine, which I love because realistically, as much as obviously I love Liam, he's not into like the same stuff I'm into in terms of like music and stuff like that. So it is nice to have a friend like Josh who is pretty like-minded. Like, yeah, he's not the biggest Taylor Swift fan, but he still loves pop music, and we relate a lot on music and stuff like that. And like we're going to Sabrina together next year and stuff. So I was really happy that he wanted to come with me with to the Eras tour. So that was great, and we had a phenomenal time. So that's a little backstory on who Josh is, because I do I do recognize that I just shoved him in the vlog and no one knew who he was. So there you go. That's who Josh is. You'll probably see him a few times, maybe moving forward when it comes to like vlogs and stuff like that. He's not big on social media. He's not big on that kind of thing. So he's a bit shy, which was why he didn't really speak all that much in the vlog. But I also didn't really feel the need to pressure him into it. So yeah, because it's not his thing, this is my thing, and that's fine. So yeah, that's who Josh is. We're just really good friends, so that's a slay. But back to our day. We obviously went back to the hotel. We got ready, which you guys saw in the vlog. We got wine drunk, probably a bit more drunk than I intended, to be honest. It was fun, like what for me. Wine drunk is like an amount of drunk that I can handle. Vodka and like spirits and stuff, it's a bit too much for me. Like I'm like a messy drunk at that point. Like it doesn't feel good kind of drunk. Whereas for me, wine drunk is just like light, it's fun, it's tipsy. I can still function on wine, you know? So we got wine drunk. We vlogged a little bit. We got ready. Honestly, it didn't really take us that long to get ready because like our outfits were ready. I'd already showered that morning, so it really didn't take us that long. We set off. Obviously, we had to get the tube there. The tube, obviously, there was extremely busy, as I expected. But I will say, especially with my outfit being what it was, I expected more people to be weird about it on my way to the tube. Like I expected more like judgmental stares or whatever. And I do forget that obviously like London is a big place with like a lot of crazy characters that wear a lot of crazy shit. So like I assume for a lot of people it's just like, oh, like we know where he's going, whatever. But obviously I live up north at this point. I don't go down to London all that often. So when I do, it's always a bit of a jarring experience. But I didn't get any adverse experiences from just walking to the tube station, which was great because I was worried about that the most. But I feel like if you do it with confidence, they can't say shit, you know? So I just try and do things with confidence, especially if I'm a bit wine drunk. Like that's enough confidence for me, you know? We got to the tube station. As soon as we were on the tube, I was like, well, this is sickening because everyone on this tube, more or less, is going to be going to the Eras tour. So I was like, I feel at home. I feel like people understand. I don't feel any judgment, you know, because we're all going crazy. We're all having fun. And we're all serving with our outfits. So that was great. And to be honest, guys, the compliments started on the train. Like, don't get me wrong, I expected some people to obviously speak to me for my outfit anyway, because obviously it was a full head to toe rhinestoned look. But everyone was super, super kind about the outfit. I got on and like a few of the Swifties were like, you look great. And I was like, oh, thank you. And I was like, oh, yeah, it took me 2 months. And they were like, you made it? Like, people were gagged that I made it. See, in my opinion, like, it looked, I guess, yeah, it did look DIY in a sense, but I imagine people probably would have just assumed that maybe I paid someone else to make it. But I'm just the kind of person, I've said this before, like I'm the kind of person, if I want to do something, if I've got a vision, I'll just do it. Even if I don't know how to do it, I'm the kind of person that'll learn to do it first rather than pay someone else to do it. Which sometimes I do feel like maybe I should pay more people to do things for me because they could probably do it more successfully and that's more of their expertise. But I think for me, especially when it comes to stuff like obviously outfits and stuff for concerts and stuff, like for me it's like a labor of love, like it's like a DIY that I can take pride in if it works, you know. I did have a few comments being like, Jesus Christ, like was it really worth it, like spending 2 months, 70,000 rhinestones, like asking if it was worth it. And for me, it was like, it was never really a case of was it worth it or whatever, because it wasn't like, yes, it took me a long time to do it, but it wasn't like a grueling experience. Like I was enjoying doing it and I enjoyed the outcome a lot. Like it was like a creative thing for me to do. And obviously by the end, don't get me wrong, like I had to pull a few all-nighters because I did kind of underestimate the amount of time it was going to take me, but I didn't mind because I knew that the vision was going to come to life and I was going to be just super proud of the outfit when it was done, regardless of what people thought or regardless of like anyone saying anything, you know? And same goes for Josh's shirt. Like I didn't have to do that. I definitely put that on myself. Like he would have easily just come up with an outfit himself, obviously, but I put it upon myself because I had a vision and I wanted to bring it to life, if that makes sense. So the outfit in general, like I loved my outfit. I loved Josh's outfit. A lot of people did also ask how much it cost me because obviously I did say in the making of that it cost the original outfit I was going to buy would have cost me about £800 to purchase it with like income tax and everything. This, I'm pretty sure it was more around the £300 mark, which was still obviously expensive, but for me, it was totally worth it because I was also able to make it something a bit more unique. I was able to make it a bit more flashy because the one that I was originally going to buy, like, yes, it was rhinestones, but it wasn't like AB crystals, and I don't think it was like crystals that were that big. So, like, I was able to, through doing it myself, I was just able to make it a bit more specific to the Eras tour, which I'm super glad because obviously I decided to put stars on it, and I think the stars really helped the outfit. I think without the stars, it might have been a bit plain. Obviously, like it still would have had an impact and like been shiny. But I think all in all, I think the stars were a great choice made by me. So that's that. That's that on the outfit. I love my outfit. For me, it was worth it. I know a lot of people wouldn't have put that much effort in, but I'm the kind of person that like if I'm going somewhere and I have a vision for a look, I will do it. And if anything, like in my life when things haven't gone to plan like that, it can really trigger some anxiety for me. Like I've had that happen a few times, like in uni and stuff, when like things don't necessarily go to plan, or I had a vision for something or an outfit that I wanted to create. And I guess it's just part of my perfectionism and like me holding myself to a high standard. Sometimes it's an unattainable standard, but a standard nonetheless, right? So that was that. That was the outfit. Now we got to Wembley Park. We needed a piss real bad, so we found the first fucking coffee shop, went in it. The line was disgustingly long, which pissed me off. Now I do understand because basically it was a male and female and a disabled toilet, and obviously like that the rules weren't kind of like working in that sense. Like it was a free for all. It didn't matter the gender. We're all going to the toilet, and I understand. Right, it's busy. We need to get the line down as quick as possible. It's not really the time to separate genders and all that kind of fucking bullshit, right? So I understand that. But boy, oh boy, do I wish that the men's was just the men's because we would have been in and out. Because I think we were the only men in the line for the toilet. But we all deserve to pee. We all deserve to poop. Okay, so I can't grumble. But then I met up with Lucy Warburton. Me and Josh were calling her Warburton the whole time. I just liked that. I hope it wasn't offensive to Lucy. She didn't seem to mind. But yeah, we met up with Lucy. She was obviously the girlie that won the giveaway. So initially, like my usual strategy for things like this, like because I gave away some tickets for Beyonce last year, and my usual plan of action when I do a giveaway is to transfer the tickets to the person. So then, obviously, if they want to meet up and like say hello and whatever, then by all means we can do that. But it also means that like they're not pressured into doing that. They can go, they can do whatever they want. Like it's their ticket now. Like I don't want them to feel like they need to come meet me, whatever, do all that kind of thing. So I like to take the pressure off and just send them the ticket. However, for some reason, up until the day of, I couldn't transfer her tickets. The only tickets I was able to transfer at that point in time was the tickets that me and Josh were using. So I was like, well, I'm sure she'll understand. I'll get them in. It'll be fine. We got there. I met up with her. She was obviously lovely. I expected nothing less. The outfits were really cute. Daisy, her friend, was also lovely. Hopefully, she had a great time. So we met up with her while we were waiting for the toilet. Not the best place, I guess, but it is what it is. We then obviously went for his merch. And then after we'd got his merch, I obviously took pictures, that whole thing, whatever. Then, as we were obviously trying to get into the place, this was what time did we set off? Because timings wise, guys, I'm not going to say that we flopped with the timing, but we didn't realize how early Taylor was coming on. Like, I thought that the first supporting act, which was Suki, who I've never heard of. So for me, it was a bit too early to get there at that point because obviously it was going to be a long day regardless. So we weren't planning on getting there for Suki because I'm pretty sure she went on at 4:30 if I'm correct. But this is the thing, I think timings wise, like we're all over the place. So we weren't planning on getting there for Suki anyway. So I think we set off at about 4 or maybe even a bit before that. And it was going to take us about an hour to get there, obviously with tubes and stuff and walking. So we got there, I think, for around 5. Obviously, by the time we met up with Lucy, we'd gone to the toilet, we'd got our merch, we'd got our pictures. Obviously, time just like went. And then I then checked the app, and it was actually allowing me to transfer Lucy the tickets. So I was like, oh, well, this is slay, because obviously I could have got us in no problem, but we were basically sat on the complete opposite ends of the stadium, so we obviously had different entrances, and obviously if needs be, I would have gone to their entrance, let them in, then us go to ours. That was the plan, and that would have happened. But I was like, oh well, I may as well send them their tickets, then they can go off, they can do whatever they want, and we'll maybe meet up with them later. So that was the plan. I sent them the tickets. Then we had a right catastrophe with Lucy's internet. Like the internet was just not working, which is not surprising because obviously we were at Wembley with the amount of people and everything. So we had a bit of a process trying to get her tickets downloaded and whatnot. We got it sorted. She went to theirs. We went to ours. We were in. We literally then went for a drink really quick. We then went straight to our seats, and literally, guys, we'd missed Paramore, which I actually did plan on hopefully seeing Paramore. But I suppose with the amount of time that it like took us outside and like to get there and obviously getting in and stuff, we obviously missed Paramore. But then we literally sat down a few minutes before 7, and then the fucking clock started, and she came on at 7, which for me I thought she was coming on at 7:30. So I was expecting to be sat there for about half an hour. Now, obviously, around this time, before like we properly sat down, I was obviously getting some pictures in there. I met a bunch of you guys. So if I met you on the day, thank you for coming up to me and saying hello, because I love meeting you guys. Everyone was so fucking sweet. And I did feel a little bit bad for these two girls that were sat on the end of our row, because bless them, they did have to keep getting up and down and stuff. Because I'd literally go to my seat and then someone else had come up, and obviously I want to meet all of you. So I was like, I'm so sorry. But they didn't seem to mind all that much. Who knows? And I apologized, obviously. But I met a bunch of you. It was really, really fun. You were all super sweet. You all looked really, really good. And I think it was like, that was like the first instance where I met like a lot of you. Like I obviously meet people sometimes like when I go out on nights out and stuff here, there and everywhere. But like I kind of lost count of the amount of people that I met that day, which was crazy. So thank you so much if I met you. That was really fun. And then, yeah, we literally got sat down and she came on, to be honest. And I feel like now that we're kind of at the show portion, I feel like I should get up some of your questions and see what you guys want to know specifically about the show. I mean, someone's asked, why do you like Taylor Swift? Like, well, why do you like any of the artists you like? You enjoy their music. You relate to their music. Why else? You know? Okay, well, let's do this one. This is the first one. This is obviously from Ali Sheehan, my fucking queen. Okay. She did ask, what moment or song caught you off guard? Now, to be honest, I tried not to watch as much of the show as possible beforehand, because I did want it to be somewhat of a new experience, because obviously there's the movie out, there's all these other things, you know, like I easily could have had the show spoiled for me from beginning to end. So I tried as much as I could to not see things, but obviously that's not going to happen entirely. So I did know a few things were going to happen. So in terms of moment or song that caught me off guard, I mean, to me, it only makes sense that the surprise songs would be the thing that caught me off guard, because I'd said prior that I really wanted either Glitch, I'm Gonna Get You Back, or I Did Something Bad. Now, I kind of knew that Glitch and I'm Gonna Get You Back were probably not going to happen, because I know Glitch specifically is not people's favorite song. I don't know if she's ever actually done it on the tour. I guess you guys can let me know. But yeah, so I kind of like, I knew Glitch wasn't going to happen. I'm Gonna Get You Back, I was like, there's a possibility there, because obviously it is from the newest album. But I Did Something Bad was like something that I was like, I could see that happening, and I would love that, because I Did Something Bad, for me, it's baffling that wasn't even on the set list. Like, the songs on the set list that I would happily have taken off for I Did Something Bad to be put on there, because I think that's one of her best songs, especially on the Reputation album. It's an incredible song. So, we did in fact get I Did Something Bad as a surprise song. Now, I didn't know, because obviously, like I said, I've tried to avoid stuff as much as possible. But she'd never actually performed I Did Something Bad on the tour so far. And it was the last song from Reputation that she'd not performed. So obviously, everyone was losing their fucking minds. And I was like, well, of course it's I Did Something Bad. But I didn't really understand at the time that it was because she'd not performed it yet, and it was the last Reputation song. So obviously, amidst all this, everyone's clowning anyway that Reputation TV was going to be announced. And I will say, I kind of did like get into that a little bit. I'm not usually someone who's going to clown that hard, but I didn't think she was going to announce it our date, because our date was like the 3rd out of the 5. I thought if she was going to announce it, it would be the last date of London, if that was going to be the case. So I didn't think we were going to get the Reputation TV announcement, but when she did play I Did Something Bad as like the last Reputation song that she'd not performed, I did think maybe there's a possibility here. Okay? And obviously I did also think She brought out Ed Sheeran for the first night of the London thing, and obviously he was a collaborator on the Reputation album. Obviously, I know that they did things on like Red and stuff, but they also had a song on Reputation, okay? And then I mean she switched the outfit for Midnights the second night. I didn't really understand like how that could logically mean anything to do with Reputation because the outfit was still blue and silver. Like it was a deep blue, but it wasn't black. Like if it was a black outfit, then I'd have been like, you know what? Maybe you're onto something. But I didn't get that. And then obviously I assume our date we got I did something bad, which I assume was just something a bit more special. But I mean I'm sorry, I'll talk about it. The last night of the tour, we'll get back to my night in a minute, but the last night of that fucking London date thing, London stint, if you will, they really fucking won. Like, I'm not bitter, but I am a little bit. And mainly for the fact that they got Ray as an opener, which if I was at that date, I would have been there from prior to Ray, because I want to see Ray live. I've seen Ray live once. I went to the Royal Albert Hall thing when she recorded the live album. It was probably one of the best nights of my life. Loved that. So I would have gone, and Josh is a huge fan of Ray. So we were devastated that we didn't get Ray on our date, but it is what it is. So first and foremost, they won in that regard. They got Ray as an opener. Okay. Then fucking Florence came out, which if you guys know me at all, I love Florence Welch. I love Florence and the Machine. I love their music. I love Florida. It's one of my favorite songs on the Tortured Poets department. So the fact that they got Florida live and Florence there in all her ethereal goodness, it felt targeted. It felt like a targeted attack on me, to be honest. It felt personal, right? So they won in that regard. And then obviously to top things off, fucking Jack came out for the surprise songs, which another slay. Now I don't ride Jack's cock like a lot of people do. Obviously, I love the music that is created with Taylor, but I'm not a Bleachers fan necessarily. I obviously love Jack as a producer, obviously, and like for the music, I love it. But for me, Florence and Ray were the two that I was most jealous of. Obviously, having Jack come out at all was really cool. I wouldn't have grumbled at that, obviously. But yeah, and I guess they did perform Getaway Car, which incredible. Death by a Thousand Cuts. Sorry to say, I'm pretty sure Ali Sheehan, if you're watching this, Diva, I'm so sorry, because I think that's one of your favorites. Death by a Thousand Cuts is not my favorite song. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Getaway Car though, sickening. Okay, and she performed So Long London on the last date. What the fuck? That is crazy. But anyway, let's get back to some questions. See, people are saying, where'd you get the fit, Pookie? Honey, I made it. This made me laugh. Like, do you not look at things? Do you not see things? Like, I've posted about that outfit a lot over the past week or so. Oh, to be fair, a bunch of people are just like complimenting the outfit. So that's nice, thank you. Someone asked how heavy was the outfit. Now, I didn't weigh myself with it or without it, so I don't actually know specifically, but it was fucking heavy. Especially the trousers. The trousers were really, really heavy, I won't lie. Someone asked, how does it feel to have been in the first crowd to experience I Did Something Bad? Now, in the moment, I didn't understand the big deal. Obviously, like I love the song, but I didn't understand what it meant, you know? But now that I know, it feels correct. Because I love that song and I've been preaching about that song for a while, you know? So it feels correct, to be honest. Here we go. So someone's asked, what was my favorite era to see live on stage? Now, I have a bunch of opinions. Maybe some of these are unpopular. You guys can let me know your thoughts. But I have a bunch of opinions on the sets and like the different eras. Okay, my favorites. Let's start with my favorites. Now, I didn't expect this, but I loved the Folklore / Evermore set. I don't know why, because in my brain it was like I didn't expect to love that as much as I did, because I don't think Folklore and Evermore are the most stadium friendly albums, if that makes sense. Like I expected that to be kind of like not a lull, but like more of like a mellow, relaxing time, which it was definitely. Like a lot of people did sit down and like we got into more of like a ethereal space. But the beauty of it all, and like seeing the lights, and like obviously past seeing Taylor perform the songs, and like these are songs that I fucking love and I adore. Like she picked great songs to perform for that specific set. Like seeing Betty live, that's one of my favorite songs from those eras combined. Betty is an incredible song, like the storytelling, the country vibes. I love Betty, and seeing that live was a magical experience. And then on top of that, like the visuals, like on the stage, and then on top of that, the lights just like shining like orange and shit. It was all in all just a really beautiful experience, that specific part. So that was definitely a highlight for me. Folklore and Evermore was incredible. And then for me, obviously, Tortured Poets. Like I do feel a little bit sorry for people that obviously went to the tour earlier and didn't get to experience Tortured Poets, because hands down that was like, in my opinion, the most exciting budget part of the tour. It probably will be Tortured Poets and the Folklore and Evermore sets. They're like my highlights for the whole thing. They're my favorite bits. Now, if we're going to talk opposite to that, because I did have a few people say like what was the part that I didn't like as much, like, or I didn't enjoy as much, or a set that could have been better in my opinion. And I will say, this might be unpopular, I don't know, but I think the 1989 set was a bit underwhelming, which is kind of sad because 1989 was probably one of my favorite eras. That's the pop Bible, you know, like that is the one when it comes to pop Taylor, in my opinion. But for me, like the visuals, like the visuals, like on the screens and stuff, like they were cute, and like some of the parts were obviously really good. Like Bad Blood was really good, and like the fucking pyrotechnics and shit, loved that shit. But all in all, I just don't know if it made sense. Like I feel like a lot of the other sets were so catered to the era and it made sense. Whereas I feel like the 1989 set, it didn't really make sense to me. Like the outfit didn't make sense. Like she was wearing, I think, a pink and orange like two-piece thing and like a mix and match thing. To me, 1989 is not pink and orange. Like 1989 to me is blue, like a light blue, like a beachy blue, you know? And like the visuals also didn't really give blue, you know? Like I'm thinking back to some of the visuals that I know that I've seen from the 1989 tour, and like what I am bitter about, I will say this, is that Out of the Woods wasn't on the set list. Like I would have happily taken off like Shake It Off, Hello, and put Out of the Woods on there. I understand obviously for the locals and stuff, and like for people that aren't necessarily the biggest Taylor fans but are there with a big Taylor fan. I understand like you kind of need to do the radio hits, and then they've got something that they enjoy. Obviously that makes sense with like the red part. Obviously there was a lot of like those kind of songs on the red section, so I understand it, but I would have happily had Out of the Woods on the set list. But yeah, all in all, 1989 for me was a little bit underwhelming. I just don't think like thematically, I don't know if it was like as strong as some other parts of the tour, but at the same time I'm just like, I'm not going to sit here and complain about anything. The woman was on stage for 3.5 hours. You know, I have no merit sitting here and complaining about anything, because we're lucky that she's even doing the songs and doing this much. You know, so as much as that wasn't like my favorite part of the show, like I still enjoyed myself. Like it's still fine, and I'm still extremely grateful that we even got a 1989 set anyway. To answer the question, favorite parts were definitely Folklore, Evermore, Tortured Poets. Oh, to be fair, Vigilante shit specifically though. Vigilante shit went off on the tour, I will say. Loved her. But yeah, my not as fave was definitely 1989. Maybe even some of the earlier stuff, like maybe Fearless. I also did love Lover. Lover was a great era too. Loved that. So there you go. Sorry if you liked the 1989 set. I'm going to try and rapid fire a few more questions because I'm taking a long time here. Best specific song live, I've got to say, for me, it's either, and I know this off the top of my head because I was thinking this when I was editing the vlog. For me, Who's Afraid of Little Old Me is absolutely lunacy live. That song, I'll give you top three. So that vigilante shit was also great, and Don't Blame Me. Those songs specifically was absolutely insane. Also, obviously, I've got to give credit to All Too Well, the 10-minute fucking version. Like singing along to that was curing. Okay. How do you feel about people going to multiple shows? I went 2 times and planned the third Rip Vienna. I don't really have an opinion. I just think if you're able to get tickets, by all means go for it. I know some people have like an opinion of like give more people the chance to go. But I'm just like, you know what? If you're lucky enough to get tickets, then who am I to tell you what to do? You know, I personally don't need to go to more than one date. Like, I just think like if you experience it once, like that's great. That's more than a lot of people. You know, I already feel lucky enough to have been able to go once. But I also understand that people like to go to multiple dates, specifically for the Eras tour, because she does obviously switch it up slightly between shows. Like obviously we have the surprise songs, and I understand that that's a big reason why a lot of people like to go to multiple shows so they can like hear different surprise songs. So it makes sense to me. I'm not gonna big like do what you want, you know? Ratio between people dressed up and people dressed casually. Now, I will say I expected people to go even more like out there. Like I thought I was gonna be like not underdressed because I expected like my outfit to be like a lot. Like it was an extra outfit, but I did feel like I was gonna be underdressed. Now, don't get me wrong, there was definitely some people that like outdressed me and like were like wearing fucking replicas of her outfits and stuff and like fucking ball gowns. So like in that sense, I'm like slay, but there wasn't as many of them as I expected. Like there was a lot of people that were just kind of like sporting a generally pretty generic look with a bit of Taylor Swiftness about it. Which is fair fucking enough, you know? Like, some people don't like to go all out, some people don't need to go all out, and that is totally valid. But when it comes to concerts, like, I just like to encapsulate the era or like the show, you know? I just love that about concerts. So I just take it as any opportunity, to be honest. But yeah, there was a lot of people that were dressed more casually, I gotta say. But there were also an abundance of people that I saw that looked absolutely incredible, and best believe I made sure they knew that they looked incredible. People are asking if the outfit was uncomfortable, and it definitely wasn't uncomfortable. It was a bit of like a I didn't want to rub up against things. I wanted to be a bit more careful with it because I didn't want to like pop off all the rhinestones and shit, obviously, because it took me so fucking long. So it wasn't uncomfortable, but I was a bit more mindful of the fact that I was wearing it, if that makes sense. But it wasn't uncomfortable. I mean, I literally was just wearing a pair of jeans and a waistcoat. And that is kind of like the reason why I decided to do that specific thing for the outfit, because it was a pretty simple concept, to be honest, but I just felt like it was more effective that way. You know, like it wasn't extravagant in like a uncomfortable sort of way. Like it was very much wearable for sure. Someone asked if you were able to see Paramore's act. What are your thoughts? I didn't get to see them. I was hoping so, but I didn't get there in time. On a scale from best concert you've attended to the worst, where does the Eras Tour sit? Now, I find these kind of questions pretty difficult because I had a few people ask me this last year, obviously because I went to Sabrina, I went to Harry, I went to Beyonce, and I also saw Ray at the Royal Albert Hall. I do find these questions kind of difficult because when I do think of each of the shows, it almost feels like and this is not me trying to be like all inclusive or whatever. Like, you guys know me, I'll be honest. I find it very difficult to kind of like rank live experiences because I just feel like they're all vastly different. Like, and I've said this about shows last year, and I guess I'll talk to you guys about it now. For example, last year, obviously I saw Sabrina. It was like a theatre, like it was a much smaller production, so it felt more intimate in that sense. So that was a separate thing entirely. And then Renaissance and Beyonce, that one was like, I felt like I was watching art happen. Like it was like a production, it was a show. Like obviously I felt included, but it was more like I was watching in awe and it was just like a work of art happening on stage, if that makes sense. Whereas Harry's was like obviously huge. The environment at Harry's was unlike anything. Maybe the Eras Tour actually comes close to that, to be honest. I'd say in terms of atmosphere, the Eras Tour and Love on Tour, in fucking sane. Like the people there, it was like obviously I went there to watch the show and enjoy the show, but past that, just seeing the audience and the people so invested in the music was really fucking beautiful. I will not forget that at all. But yes, like Harry's was like I felt like I was there with him. Like it wasn't as obviously like choreography heavy, show heavy, that whole thing. It was more just like we're here, we're singing the music together, we're enjoying each other. Like it felt like we were all in it together kind of vibe at Harry's. And it was definitely more that with the Eras Tour. But I'd say the Eras Tour was kind of somewhere in between Harry's and Beyonce's. Not in terms of like a ranking, but just like the experience. Because I felt like Taylor's had the showmanship, it had the experience, the live artistry, like watching it in awe, but it had the togetherness and the excitement of the audience as Harry's did. So in my opinion, like the Eras Tour was kind of like an incredible blend of those two. And like Ray's once again was something completely fucking different. And last year, like I said, like Ray's was my favorite live experience that I'd gone to because I loved that album. She reworked the whole album in a completely different way. It was the first time I'd seen something like that, where you've taken pop music, for all intents and purposes, and then turned it into a live orchestra symphony with Ray's incredible vocals, and we've got this like jazzy aesthetic too. Like it was that was a one of a kind experience, you know? So this is why I feel like it's hard to like rank things, you know? But hopefully that gives you like a sense of like where I'm at with the live experiences. Like I've not been disappointed by one. There's not one live experience that I've gone to where I was left and I was like a bit underwhelmed. Not one. My expectations were exceeded every time, you know? So there's that. I can't really rank them, but the Eras Tour is definitely up there for sure. What were the people around you like? Were they being nice? Everyone was so sweet. So sweet. Like both people that obviously like I met through YouTube or people that I met just because they liked my outfit and like wanted a picture of me with the outfit and stuff, or just like generally just people. Everyone was so nice. I didn't have one negative experience with anybody. It was just really like we were all just there to have a really fucking good time. How was the view from your seat? Now, this is one thing that did irritate me a little bit. Now, obviously, like I knew that I was up in the gods, right? I knew that. But there was a fucking structure obstructing where she kept going on the stage. So this is why I had to film a lot of like the visuals and like obviously the camera work that they were doing for her. And obviously if she would move, then obviously I'd try and zoom in and get her. But obviously I was pretty far away, one, which I knew. It was just the tickets that I could get. And it is what it is. My motto is like, I don't need to be up Taylor's ass to enjoy myself. Like I'm in the room. That's good enough for me. And I like seated seats, so I've got the option to sit down if I want to. I know some people are really funny about people sitting down during concerts, but in my opinion, we've bought a seated seat for a reason. Obviously, for the most part, I was stood up for the most part of the show. Like I'd say maybe 5 minutes out of the 3.5 hours I spent sat down. It was barely anything. But it was literally like whenever she'd be off the stage and there's just like visuals happening, I'm like, you know what? I can take a pew. I can take a seat. I can relax for literally all of 30 seconds and then we're back up again, you know? So like, I'm not someone who's going to come for people sitting down. Like Josh sat down for quite a bit of it. You know, it's a long show, guys. Like I will say, as much as I fucking loved the show, it was long. Right? And I think this is why I needed time to like sit with it because like even after the show, getting home was so long. Like the show ended And we obviously joined the queue. The queue was like standstill, and it was like just a ridiculous amount of people trying to get on the tubes, which I expected, obviously. It was the same for Renaissance, and like Love on Tour and shit. It was all the same. But we were like, oh, actually, Josh was like, we should try and leave the queue and like either make us way round or go and get an Uber. And I was like, well, if we're leaving the queue, we're not going round. Like, I'm not being some dickhead that's like trying to cut the queue because that's not my style. Um, I was like, if we're gonna leave the queue, we can go and try and get an Uber. We left the queue, guys. Oh God, we tried to get an Uber for probably like half an hour to an hour. An Uber got accepted. It was going to cost me 80 fucking pounds for an Uber. Like, don't get me wrong, the prices started off at like 30 quid, and it was like an hour's journey. So I was like, I'll pay 30 quid, absolutely. By the time like we got one accepted, it was going to cost me 80 pounds. And at that point, I was like, I'll fucking pay it. I don't give a fuck, right? So I accepted it. They cancelled it. So then I was like, okay, so we're simply not going to get an Uber. And there was a bunch of people trying to do the same thing. We weren't going to get an Uber. It wasn't going to happen. So then we had to go back to the fucking queue, join the queue again. So that obviously set us back. And all in all, the journey home was fucking grueling. Now, on when we actually finally got on a tube, because we had to get two tubes because we got on one and then they decided they were only going to go two stops and then they were going to stop it, which makes no fucking sense to me. I said to Josh, I think it was their way of like trying to like disperse the crowd because they went to Baker Street and then they were like, you then have got to obviously get a connecting thing, which I do feel like was kind of smart on their part because it did kind of like separate people off so then they could go specifically where they need to go. But it was so fucking annoying. And then we got on, and then on that tube, so between Wembley Park and Baker Street, like they're long stops to be fair. The rest of them are a bit faster. But Finchley something, I'm not sure what. Finchley something and Baker Street, those two stops with a bunch of time in between. The fucking Swifties started singing, guys. And don't get me wrong, right? I do believe Swifties are valid, right? Fair enough. But I'm sorry, past midnight, we're all crammed into this small fucking structure that is taking the piss, that is stopping constantly, and you decide to sing more Taylor Swift songs a cappella, and we're not vocally trained. To me, like I put in the vlog, sometimes silence is okay. Like I was just like, really, we need to be doing this now. We've just all been in an environment for 3.5 hours plus for some people, listening to the music, singing along, screaming the lyrics. I don't think we need to be doing that on our way home. And I was like, you know what? I really had guys. I was in a conundrum because I was like, I understand we're all like the Swifties are just trying to have a good time, but I just think that sometimes we don't need to make it. We don't need to make it that. And I feel bad for saying it because like I said, I know people are just trying to have fun and it's not that deep. But part of me was just like, just please shut up. Like none of us really want to be here. None of us really want to be on this tube until 1 a.m. And you're deciding to sing? Like, I'd understand if you could sing great, but like, guys, oh, it was terrible. It was really, really terrible. So, like, that didn't help matters, and I'm so sorry for saying. And, like, maybe that's mean of me to say. But like I said, sometimes silence is okay. And I think that's what I would have preferred in that moment. Fave outfit you saw, God, there was a few. I think for me it's the replicas of the outfits that I find very impressive. Like there was a bunch of bodysuits that I thought people really slayed with. There was a bunch of like folklore, like flowy gowns. I will say, what stuck in my head. There was this pair, and they weren't the most extravagant outfits, but they dressed up as Miss Americana and the Heartbreak Prince, and it was like a boy and girl combo, and they had like their crowns and shit, and they were dressed like royalty, softcore royalty. And I loved that as a concept. Like, I wish I'd have gone with a lady and we could have done that concept because I just thought that was so smart. So that I will say, I didn't even see like a full visual of them. Like, I kind of just saw them as they were walking. Like I was behind them, so I didn't even get to see a front visual, but I just know it was going to be cunty. So I will say that. But a lot of the bodysuits, a lot of the replicas were absolutely incredible. Did you trade many friendship bracelets? Now, unfortunately, people, I didn't have time to make any friendship bracelets, which I was pissed off at myself for. Like, time management really flopped for me, right? So I unfortunately couldn't trade any. Josh got me one. Like, he had his friend who's a real big Swiftie. Shout out to Rachel. I don't think you should be watching this, but shout out to you, Rachel. She made me a bracelet for my birthday. Like, Josh did a whole little thing for my birthday, which was really cute. But he made me a bracelet for my birthday. So I wore that and I had that bracelet. And then a bunch of people just gave me bracelets, which also thank you to you guys for giving me bracelets. Like, I've got them in my office. Maybe I'll go live and I'll maybe show them and stuff, because I'd show them now, but I can't be asked getting up and going to my office, to be honest. But I got a bunch of bracelets. All are really cute and they're like a prized possession of mine now. So thank you also if you gave me a bracelet. And I did say, I was like, I've not got any to trade. Like, I would have loved to have traded, but I didn't have any. So yeah, unfortunately I couldn't trade any, but I did get given a few, which is so kind. And yeah, I'm sure I'll show you them at some point. But yeah, let's answer one or two more. Ranking of her outfits. If you guys would like to see that, I would love to do a video ranking her outfits. Because soon enough, I would like to do a ranking every Taylor Swift song, to be honest. Because the only album I've not heard is Debut. Because I've been waiting for her to fucking re-release it. But part of me just thinks, like, do I just listen to it? Do I just listen to the original version, then I can get to that video? Because I am so bored. I want to rank all the songs, you know? But if you guys would like a ranking of her outfits, let me know and I can definitely do that. Someone put, loved Taylor, but was it too long, the concert? 3+ hours seems excessive. Now, I'll end on this because this might be controversial. I, first and foremost, want to say that I'm not in a position to complain about anything, because the fact that she's willing to be on there for 3.5 hours plus, whatever, and give us that many songs, like, that is generosity to the next degree. But I think, for me personally, and I do think for Taylor's well-being, now I'm sure, I don't know if she's doing well, I hope she's doing well, but I just can't imagine, obviously, being a performer and, like, having performed before, I know that, like, doing the same show over and over and over and over and over, it can get grueling and tiring. So I can only imagine that she is a little bit tired, which is probably why she enjoys doing the surprise songs, because it keeps it fresh, right? Anything that can keep it fresh, a show, honestly, you need it when you're doing a long stint like she definitely is. Obviously, she's been doing this years. I've not been doing a year's production, but, like, I've done, like, 6-7 month contracts, right? And I will say, for me, it was a long show. I would have happily taken out a few songs, but that's just, once again, for me personally. Obviously, everyone has a different opinion in terms of, like, what their favorite songs are and whatnot. I would have happily taken out a few songs and, like, brought the time down a little bit, especially with, obviously, like, the new edition of, like, the Tortured Poets and stuff. I feel like she maybe could have taken out a few more, and I know that that would have pissed off more people, but I just think 3.5 hours concert is excessive, especially if you are turning up there for the very first supporting act, which I think went on at 4:30. So realistically, you're there from, say, maybe like 4, maybe earlier if you're, like, queuing up, camping out, whatever. I don't fucking know. But you're there from, like, say 4 o'clock till 10:30 when it finishes, and then you've got to get home. Like, it's a long, long day. So as much as, like, I'm grateful, of course, for me personally, it felt long. Like, I felt the time. And that's why I'm also not in a space to be like, do not sit down at a concert, because I'm sorry. Standing up for that amount of time, let alone, like, if you're, like, getting a standing seat, getting a standing thing and, like, having to go in much earlier and stuff. Without that, God knows how people are doing that. How people are standing for that amount of time is crazy, because I assume you've got to get in there before the first supporting act to get your spot. How are people doing that? Like, I struggled standing up for the amount of time that, like, Taylor was on, you know, but maybe I'm just old and rickety. But yeah, guys, there's honestly a bunch more questions So I guess if you would like another part to this, maybe a little bit later down the line, and we talk more Eras Tour stuff, then I guess let me know. But I feel like I've answered a good amount of questions there. Hopefully that gives you a bit more insight into the night and the show and the day and whatnot. But all in all, I had an incredible time. I'm so glad I got to go. And yeah, I really can't knock the experience. It was truly incredible. And it was like the first time that I was seeing Taylor live. So that was also really good. Like for a first time seeing her, I feel like this was a perfect thing. Because I felt like as much as I didn't go to the other eras and like their respective tours, like I feel like I still got a taste of each of them, which was really nice. So thanks, Taylor. And yeah, here's to more concerts, I guess. I'll see you guys next week or whatever with another episode. I don't fucking know when I'm going to be putting them up at this point. I'll probably just put them up whenever I feel. But yeah, I'll see you soon. Love yous. Goodbye. Remember to rate me 5 stars, please. Goodbye. And subscribe. Bye.